allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Newberry.
Here.
Crowner. Johnson.
Here.
Lees.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Okay. Any changes or adjustments that we want to make to the agenda? If not, we need a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Support.
Motion and support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have a consent agenda in front of us with 6 items, I believe. No, 7 items. So first off, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? Not? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, so, Greg, do you have some information or reports for us tonight? Thank you.
A couple things, Your Honor. Let's see. I was contacted by Brian Fleming regarding the solar. I've heard from a couple of folks. Whether we want to do an RFP regarding solar, whether we want to simply go with the subcontractor and the financial company. There seemed to be an interest in pursuing it, but not a clear, not really clear direction on how to proceed. I guess we're actually both looking for a little bit more direction on that. I haven't had a chance, and I'll let you know what I find. I was going to talk to Chad Bird again. If you recall, I had talked to him previously. They had talked about reissuing their RFP, and I was going to get a little bit more information. I wasn't able to catch him at Tuesday's chamber meeting on that topic, and so I was going to do that and then follow up with, as well. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail tonight, but Chief Ryan / Building Inspector Ryan / Fire Marshal Ryan and Public Works Department has been out multiple times a day with Borgie and is working with federal and state agencies as well on that issue, and continue to do so. It's a complicated issue and a continuing issue that we are working to address. I guess I'll leave it at that for tonight, and they have some additional meetings set up tomorrow as well. Trees Forever is scheduled for the 26th next week, next Tuesday, 1:30 p.m. is our first session with, and we will have folks from Alliant, Burlington Beautiful. I understand Aquinas will also be joining us, as well as SCC students at 1:30, and then high school students and scouts at 4 p.m. So if you can join us, I would love to have you on the 26th, starting at 1:30. We're going to start off here with a bit of a kickoff and some instructions on planting and some thank yous. Reminder, our goal setting session is next week, that next day on the 27th at 5:30 p.m. Here in the council chambers. I'm probably going to set this table up in a fashion so that we can have a bit more of a discussion rather than this type of discussion as well. I was asked to remind council, and if you could please respond to the chamber, they would appreciate it. Public officials, you should have received an email. The public officials meet and greet on May 17th from 4:30 to 6:30. If you could please RSVP and let Rachel know if you'll be attending that meet and greet, they would appreciate it. If you don't have that email and you want to let me know, feel free to just shoot me an email or text or however you'd like to get a hold of me and let me know, and I'd be happy to respond. Again, that's May 17th at 4:30. If you want to let me know, I'd appreciate it, or you can just respond and let Rachel know at the chamber. And I sent out some information on the apprenticeship program. Now, I've had a couple conversations now with our workforce development. I think we've got a real opportunity here, and I think it probably, at least at this point in time, you're not limited to one position, one job, one employee, but I think our sewer department and the wastewater treatment plant is probably the best opportunity that we have and most immediate need for that opportunity. And so we're doing a little bit more research. Looks like I might have to work with Kelly and Mike and Rod and update a job description, because Rod's job description is actually Assistant Public Works Director. I really need something that's tailored to the wastewater treatment plant. So continue to work with Iowa Works on that. They've been very helpful. It's really kind of a neat program as well. And then also a tool that we can share with businesses in town as well. I think that's all I have tonight. I think we have something separate for concessions, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Number
Okay, that's all, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mike?
Just to touch on the trees that Greg was talking about, we've planted 65 trees for our tree farm that we're keeping. They're already done and potted. As soon as weather permits, we'll go down and make the pit and set those. And I got 25 more that we're going to locate and plant at the sewer plant out of our 200 plus what we're going to plant, and we'll have some to give away. And a reminder, there's no dumping at the Public Works building as far as leaves, trash, limbs. We had a guy come in just the other day, go over to our mulch pile and start throwing grass and brush in it. When I asked him what he was doing, he said, well, I'm throwing my stuff away. I said, this is not where you put that. That facility is closed. Well, I'm from Burlington. Where am I supposed to be putting it? So we still have occasional people just coming in and throwing stuff in our parking lot. And I just want to make an announcement that there's nowhere out there for any dumping of any sort of any kind of material at this point. And another note, I had a complaint mailed to me, and Greg did, for South Sunset. I went out to address the complaint. I just want to let the public know too that it's much easier if you want me to fix a complaint or talk to you. I can't make contact with you if you don't leave a number, a mailing address, a name. The issues that were out there were about cones that we left for 2 years and seal coating that wasn't finished and the pea gravel at the bottom of the hill. The cones were from another utility. I've noticed them out there for 2 years too. It was either Alliant or a contractor for Alliant, Mediacom, a contractor for Mediacom, Danville Telecom. It was another contractor of some sort that left that material. I just want to make it clear that the Public Works didn't leave that stuff lay there. And the rock at the bottom of the hill, any seal coat alley or seal coat road, the loose gravel that doesn't stick to the tar will end up in heavy rains down at the bottom of a hill, or when we're snow plowing, it does go off the side of the road. That's just how seal coat works. We did fix a pothole there, but whoever the individual was, if he wants more information, I would rather they leave me a number at City Hall. I'm more than eager to take on any complaints from anybody or what needs to be done, but I just want that person to know that I did address it. We picked up the cones, removed them, but none of those problems was left there from 2 years ago from the Public Works Department. And that's, Teresa asked me about the tower. Right now we're waiting on a new, find out who's in charge for Boomerang. Bud quit them. We haven't got a new guy down here to make a plan. We don't know what's happening with water main and stuff. Inside of the tower is still progressing. Their plumbers are hanging hot water heaters and furnaces. Power is in. All the pumps are mounted. There's a lot going on inside the tower that you're not seeing. The painters are sandblasting and prepping to paint the inside of the tower at this moment. So the inside will be getting painted and done. So the tower itself, there's been a lot going on out there over the last couple of weeks, but the water main part itself has just come to a standstill. I can't get an answer, or we don't know who's coming or when or what yet. So Lewis Park is the same as my last report in my weekly report. I'm not getting anything back from Phi Contracting on laying the matting, or if they got the matting, or where we're at with that project. Rod got a call late this afternoon that the third pump at the south lift will be coming down tomorrow to be put back in. So I'm hoping that finishes the punch list for the south lift and we can move on with the next step for that. I also had made contact, finally I've been trying for a long time, and I know Randy Fry had tried for years. I actually got a hold of a human being that listened and had researched this problem with the water and the drainage from Lewis Park going under Mount Pleasant and into Isaac Walton. I have a meeting set up with him and the Chris Lee, the county conservation, next Wednesday. We are going to meet on site, go over it, and he'll let me know what's possible and what's not, and we may be finally on a path to get somewhere, I'm hoping. So I'll keep you informed what comes up there, what the next step is with that.
That sounds really good.
That's all.
More?
Nope.
Jesse?
A couple things. We had a burglary last Thursday at a Millennium Granite and Quartz. It all worked out with the assistance with Burlington Police Department. They made a traffic stop on another unrelated incident and ended up being our suspects for that. So we did charge 2 people for breaking into that and recovered some of the property that was stolen. And Officer Billings will be starting solo patrol tomorrow. It's been a long time, but several officers got COVID while he was in training, and it just kind of snowballed from there and kind of pushed him back a little bit. But he'll be out on his own tomorrow starting, so looking forward to him getting out and going. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I would love to say I have nothing. On the building side, I've done a couple inspections here. It's been a little difficult having some time and opportunities, but it actually is a nice break to get that. Talking with some residents about future projects that they want to do over the summer, expanding their driveways and parking capabilities and sorts, dealing with wanting to get to deal with some of the nuisances that I have, but I have a little bit more on my plate from the fire side. I first want to announce that we'll be going to FDIC next week, myself and 3 others at that training conference. I have 2 firefighters who have signed up for, they hold a 9/11 memorial stair climb at FDIC where they climb the 111 flights there in the Lucas Dome. And we have 2 of our members that are going to be participating. This is the first for us all the years we've been going out. And I'm really proud of that fact that they want to do that. I think it's great for us. I want to publicly thank Mike, Jesse, Greg, all the people that have helped us, the agencies that have worked with us, the cooperation with the staff and employees at Borgie for the incident that happened on Thursday. This is an ongoing incident. We are working. We want to put forth our due diligence in assuring, number one, the safety of the employees. Those are our residents, and we care and we have concern about them. So it's an ongoing process and investigation, and we are working about that. So I am working with that. And as soon as we're able to get more information out, we will. But at this time, it is an ongoing process and an open investigation. But I want to publicly thank all those individuals that have helped. It is a large and overwhelming issue.
Thank you. Kelly?
Nothing to share tonight.
Okay. Nope. Okay. Any other staff reports that we need to hear from, Greg?
I don't believe so, no, thank you.
Thank you. Council members? Millie?
I'm
No?
good, nothing.
Reese?
Getting things organized for the kids' bike races for the 4th of July, and also planning on having a kids' parade that will start 15 minutes before the big parade. I have leftover whistles for all the kids to let them know we're coming, and there will be some door prizes for first, second, and third place for the best decorated bike, battery-operated car, costume, whatever.
Thank you.
And Kathy has graciously accepted to help me with both. Thank you, Kathy. No problem.
John?
Yeah. Hey, Greg, on that solar, before we go much further with that, shouldn't we have like a work session on that to see, just so we all can get together and knock heads and see where we actually are on that, rather than just depend on us sending you letters and then,
No, get some more information from Chad. I'd also asked, and I did see Brian Bross at the Chamber Board meeting, because I'd asked him to give us, he was going to give us some rough numbers on doing it ourselves. That was one of the questions that was asked. And he pointed at me and says, I owe you some information, so. So I'll get some more information from Klinger as well, and Chad, and then bring it back to council.
yeah, because I'm not so sure if I want to go one way or the other way on this, and I think we all need to just get together on that and
He was going to try
talk it
and
around.
give us at least some preliminary information that we
Yeah.
could utilize.
And then, the apprenticeship program, are you excited about that, or do you think that's something that we need to be?
I think it's absolutely something you need, because you have to have a grade 3, and Rod is leaving.
Okay.
And he gets offers weekly. With a grade 3, what they actually pay them, it's way, way more than what we pay. So, yes, you need to get someone in here, train them for this plant, and get somebody going on it.
And you think, okay,
And I honestly have advised, too, that my position, because I'm not far from being retired either, and someone can't just walk in and know everything that's going on in this town. It takes years of experience, so don't know that there's any volunteers to step up when I go. So you guys really need to be thinking. I don't think people have been serious taking me serious when I've been saying that, but that time's coming up on you, too.
Denied.
okay.
Well, we can't fill your shoes, so I guess you gotta stay.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't think that'll work.
We do.
Kathy?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay, and I don't have anything either.
If I
So,
could alibi on that, on the solar, I've just done some visiting around with different people who've done some work with them, and the folks from the school, for example, see how it's working out for them. And so far, they've no object, they're like, hey, glad we did it, glad we went forward with it, it's worked out fine for us. So that was good there, and I've talked to private residents who's got solar on their property, and they're happy with it. And when I bring it up, hey, the city's been approached, something to consider, and all three individuals are like, yeah, I see no reason why I shouldn't proceed with it. So that's just on a kind of man-in-the-street type of conversation. So along with the Johnny's questions and what, Greg, you're gonna visit with the gentleman, I'd like to see us continue down the path of let's look at this seriously and make a decision if we're gonna proceed with it. So far, everything I've looked at, there's no reason not to.
that's good.
And I'm okay with that. It's just, maybe we're heading down a different path than what we should really be taking. I think we ought to get some information together and
Yeah,
then
see what our options
see
are.
which path we want to go.
Yeah, yep, you bet. Thank you.
Okay. Then in that case, no citizen inquiries, so we'll move on to our public hearing. So I'll open the public hearing on a proposal to enter into an amended sewer revenue loan and disbursement agreement. Greg, you want to talk on that?
I certainly can. Again, this is basically to pay for the project that we had at Lewis Park. And in order to do that, we use the interest off of our current wastewater projects. We had 2 SRF loans. Those loans you take what's been paid off to date, you combine those loans into one loan and have an amended loan agreement, or an amendment is issued, and the payment will stay the same, will not increase, because you're using the interest off of the wastewater projects to pay for the clean water projects. And I mean, that's why you see the larger amount, not just the amount for the Lures project included in there. And this simply finishes the process, or completes the process for that loan amendment, working with the DNR and our bond counsel to get that done. And we will wrap up change orders, hopefully, as soon as we hear back from the contractor. That project will be completed this spring and closed out.
Any other comments on this? If not, then I'll close the public hearing. New business. We have to consider a resolution authorizing and improving an amended loan and distribution agreement and providing for the issuance and securing the payment of, let me make sure I get this one right, $9,522,000 taxable sewer revenue improvement and refunding bonds, Series 2022. Motion?
Support.
Motion support. Any discussion? If not, then all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Our second item of new business is a resolution setting a public hearing date of May 18th, 2022 on the budget amendment for fiscal year 2021-2022.
So moved.
Motion?
Support.
Support. Any discussion?
We, you have the formal document, or notice in there tonight. We'll have a memo prepared and more of a summary sheet in a format for both expenditures and revenues prepared for you. But I have it here tonight, and which will go through by police, roads, snow removal, et cetera, general fund. It'll show you the proposed amendments for both expenditures and revenues. Revenues exceed expenditures overall for the amendment, and the expenditures that we are proposing to amend are, for the most part, I actually believe we're going to come in under budget, under our current budget, rather than the amended budget. But we want to make sure that we obviously stay within the funds or the functions per Iowa code, and these are the areas where it's close, and we want to make sure that we certainly meet the requirements of state code. However, I think I'll be happy to report as of July 1 that we'll be under budget. There's one area I'm a little concerned about, and that's streets, just given a lot of the work that's had to go on this year. But it's going to be really close as well. But really, I think overall we'll get, my best guess is that we're going to be under, actually. But revenues are actually up. Local option sales tax is up significantly. Hotel motel up is up slightly as well. And there's another significant increase. Oh, and there's, obviously, we're going to be amending for projects that weren't budgeted for as well, in there as well. We have the ARPA funds that we also need to budget for as well. 200,000 additional in local option sales tax that we're budgeting for. I mean, so some significant increases in revenue. So, but we'll have we'll have a more detailed spreadsheet and memo for you. But again, I'm very hopeful that we'll actually be under the actual budget rather than the amended budget.
Sounds good. I have a motion on the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 3, discuss options for concessions at the swimming pool for the 2022 pool season.
Did you have a handout or?
I
Just a handout? Oh, okay.
I just had
That's
one
a
to talk
discussion
about.
item. I'm just going to,
This is just a brief discussion item. We wanted to bring forward tonight, just kind of give you a summary of where we are. We've kind of gone through this up, and really, we feel we've only got a couple options here. Going forward, we can certainly do things internally or put out an RFP, which would be a more traditional process to see if we have any potential vendors that would be interested in operating, or do it internally and hope to make a larger revenue. But as we talked about this year, we were going to see if there was anybody interested. I talked to Hy-Vee, as you know. I had talked to, Kelly and I both talked to Boss Vending, and others as well. Golden Granny's food truck as well. So basically what we're looking at and what we would do is bring back a contract for council's consideration for this pool year. Option 1 would be a contract with the food truck. That food truck would be on site, would be able to prepare hot food. And of course, they would be required to have a health permit. That we would most likely allow them, we'd have to finalize this. They would most likely have to use our concession area unless we were able to finalize a way in which they could use one of our gates and open that up as well. They would like to be able to serve not only the pool area, but a broader, the broader community, as well as perhaps games that go on later on in the evening as well. Basic terms and conditions would be obviously 7 days a week, subject to pool closings that are at city's discretion, weather, COVID, whatever it might be. They're aware of the seasons. They're aware of some of the issues that we have at the end of the seasons, typically with pool staffing, and sometimes you end up with weekend hours and less weekday hours. Hours of operation, as we had noted earlier, we're looking at open to the public around 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. They would provide a copy of the menu and a copy of the proposed fee schedule, and that's simply so that we can make sure that there's really no discrepancies and nothing's out of line. That's typically what I've done with Hy-Vee in the past. They have no objection to that. Proposed commission would be 10% of the profits from sales taking place on city property. We want to make this clear. This would be the pool, and we'll need to make this very clear with them as well. It would also have to be for any other sales as well outside of the pool property, because this would be the use of public property for profit. So we would want to make sure that that's very clear.
What do you mean by that? Other property?
Sales not related strictly to the pool.
Like if they,
If they're using city property,
And the pool's not open or something?
right.
Oh, okay.
Right. Or you're stopping by at noon to have on Taco Tuesday, to grab a taco. So it'd be 10% of all sales proceeds.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Not worried.
We want to make sure that that's very clear. That's something when we were sitting down to discuss it, we want to make sure that that's very clear. We did talk about the 10% piece. I went back and looked at contracts that I'd done in the past. I looked at one that was recently done with Hy-Vee, which was 10%. It had, in past years, been a scaled operation. It just simply wasn't enough for this Hy-Vee here, based on a pool-only operation. So we would be proposing 10% of the profits at this point in time. Proof of insurance, which is not an issue. Listing the city as an additional insured. Obviously, proof of county health permit and inspection. A termination clause is, we think, would be appropriate. They indicate that they have about 2 individuals that would be able to staff it during the day. Should this not work out for one or both parties, we would have the ability to work with Boss Vending to provide beverage machines, and they would also be able to provide prepackaged items for over-the-counter sales, which we would be able to mark up. We would also be able to receive a percentage of the proceeds for the pop. That would be a backup option as well. That could also be a standalone option if we didn't want to go with the food truck. But if we want to provide a hot food option this year, that seems to be the best route to go. I've got a contract that I've used with Hy-Vee in the past, and a couple other contracts with communities that I had requested on the from other cities, and I was going to kind of pull those together into an agreement and bring that forward, provide a copy to the individual and bring it forward for council consideration, unless there's any objections.
I think it's gonna be great if we're gonna have a hot food option at the pool, and not tie up a ton of city staff providing it and managing the people. And it's, with the private contractor, it's in their best interest to do it right, too. So, no, it's a great idea.
John, Councilman Noser as well, works out at the car auctions. She participates in the 4th of July. Hopefully it works out great for both parties. There's probably going to be some issues that we have to work out on site, and with setup, and make sure we work with county health as well, that we have to work through. If things don't end up working out, we do have Boss Vending just down the road, and we've spoken to them as well. Hopefully things work out great for everybody, and they were happy with these basic terms and conditions, didn't have any issues with these terms and conditions. I do want to make sure that she's aware of it's on all proceeds on city property.
Yeah, and I think that's.
Right,
I
and
think that's
it's really required, I mean, for the use of public property. And typically, I would put this out as an RFP. We'll ask council to waive that as part of this process, just because this was thrown in our laps this year.
Yeah, timing and see how it goes, and maybe next year. This would be just for
This year, and then if we were to move forward, we'd either do an RFP or look at doing it ourselves internally going forward. We did get another application yesterday for a lifeguard. Great.
What number count does that put a set for lifeguards then?
It's really only
10 or
like,
11 employees, I think,
Yeah.
overall,
I think
including
only
7 or 8?
4,
8?
5. I think it's only 5 certified guards that
Oh,
we have.
but there are other
Yeah,
guards.
we have, I think, 3 other ones that would like to be guards, but haven't got their certification. So we're still trying to work through, trying to find certification classes for them so they can get started.
We did notice that, that we're willing to pay for that. I've requested with the city of Burlington, because the Y has used the city of Burlington in the past when they didn't have anybody. I was talking to the Y. I ran into everybody at the Chamber Board meeting the other day. I talked to the Y as well, and if they end up with somebody that here in the short term for instruction purposes, they're more than happy to assist as well. We also want to make sure that we have a WSI, if not 1, 3, if we end up with a couple head lifeguards as well. So we are slowly making progress every day with lifeguards and attendants. So just keep putting the word out if you could, and we'll get training figured out here.
I talked to a few this week. I possibly have a few.
Awesome.
But they will need training.
That's great. That's great. And if she, as soon as we can get Cora trained as well with her WSI, she would be able to as well. But ideally, if we can get somebody trained here in the short term, it'd be ideal.
When you say a few, that's more than one. Oh,
What is the
I don't know that
target
they'll all do it, but they all
open
showed
date
interest.
right now?
let's see.
Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend is our target open date, Saturday of Memorial Day.
I think Cora would like to do some in-service the week before. Ideally, she would be able to do certifications the week before, but kind of puts us right to the wire of making sure we have enough to start the season.
But that would put us right where we need to be, or pretty
Next week,
close.
we're gonna
So
start
that'd be great.
dumping it. Starts grubbing the floor.
I will add that the lady on the food truck, she either has an option or she went ahead and bought another food truck to expand. So It's not like she's got one, so.
It depends on the option. It sounds like she may need to move the vehicle on every 3 days, was it?
Yeah, the health department, because it's a mobile
Yeah.
food
We were
truck,
gonna-
her health permit requires it to be a,
Yeah,
Mobile.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I think she had an option to buy another one, not so
I
that
believe she has 3 now.
Yeah.
So, we were
I don't
gonna
know if
check
she's
if that was
staffing them,
gonna be a requirement for us or not, since there's gonna be a more permanent fixture, but we'll confirm that with the health department.
Okay, moving on then,
Good progress, nice job.
let's take a look at considering the first, no, excuse me. Consider the final reading of an ordinance restricting parking on Division Street from Broadway to South Gear. And I know we have some information on that.
Oh, parking.
Picture?
Yes.
Picture.
We're gonna skip a motion?
Did I?
Do you need a motion in second, or?
I motion to
'Cause you can always table
consider
it.
the option,
Okay.
I'll
the
support that.
ordinance, reading of the ordinance.
Motion and support then.
Now-
Excellent.
Now let's talk about it.
Excellent. You can always table the matter to
Yep.
date certain, or just table it to indefinite date. Would you mind if I borrow that
No,
for 1
not at
second?
all.
I had a good conversation. Mr. Ferrari had a return to Italy. We finally were able to touch base this week, and I had to park in the street.
Where was
When I
my
went out
ticket?
there. This is what he was actually looking to propose to to the board for the parking lot, and he basically just cut and pasted the lot over here. They're looking, as part of their 2023 expansion, would be to double this in size out here. And so they're looking for approval from the board to double basically the size of the facility, and to get approval to do the parking lot. I offered a suggestion to him that would cut his price by about 2/3. You could easily put some angled parking in along here to achieve the same number, and your cost would be about 1/3 of the and personally, I would do back-end parking, but that's something people have to get used to. But you could easily do it here and save quite a bit of concrete and cost in the short term. That said, they have 75 employees now. I believe, as they mentioned, they're looking to add 10 to the first shift. They, as he mentioned, they currently rent in the warehouse in Burlington. They're looking to bring that to West Burlington for on-site storage rather than having to go back and forth. They're looking to create more space inside where they'll be able to expand their lines as well somewhat to give them a little bit more room. They'll be extending straight back, as I indicated, 10 now plus 1 minimum with the new building, and then depending on any further line expansion, they would have additional in the future. This option would extend to the west up to 30 cars, and they have to take that to their shareholders. Their budget process begins in July, ends in October, and that is their ideal and typical process for their budget and shareholder approval. And they would know in October if the project is approved going forward. Irregardless of the project, they still have a parking problem. We talked about various options. I also went through the abatement program that we have, and how that works, and the potential for cost savings. It's a 10-year declining scale abatement program, which would provide significant savings and more than easily pay for any parking lot expansion. That said, they would prefer to wait till 2023 and go through their normal budgeting process. if the city wishes to push it, I think it was the word that he indicated, they would, he would have to take that to the shareholders, see if they could get the concrete approved in this current fiscal year. And he is looking to get quotes on both the facility and the parking. Right now, he's in the process of contacting contractors in the area to get quotes for both the expansion and the parking lot, and he's in the process of doing that. He had to do that anyway for his budget process. And they would certainly be willing, once they go through that process, obviously, to commit to doing the parking lot. That said, it is a requirement to have it for the amount for your employees and for guests. So that is where they remain, which sounds a lot, as I understood it. He didn't come to the microphone, and I believe that's pretty much what I heard last time as well. I don't know if he addressed the budget process last time, but that would be their request at this time, would be to ask the city to postpone it. We did talk about snow removal, and if the city were to institute snow emergencies, they certainly wouldn't have a problem ensuring that their employees were parked on site during snow emergencies, should that proceed.
Greg, when he was here last time,
Yes.
I brought it up that we might be able to do a temporary gravel parking lot and give him a year or two to do that. That would fit into the 23 budget time.
Right.
And if he's gonna need the parking anyway,
Right.
that's just getting them off the road, and it's getting the parking
Right.
forward. Did you discuss that with him?
Yes, I mentioned what a horrible idea that was. But we did go through, no, we did go through that as well. A couple concerns. He didn't seem to look real favorably on it. I did indicate that we have done that in the past, or the city has with a couple industries. He's very budget conscious and is concerned that there would be a waste of funds. He would want to basically prepare it for a parking lot and then put the gravel in and prepare it as a parking lot, other than simply the concrete, essentially. So there wouldn't be any waste of funds. And if you're going to go that far, you might as well do the concrete at that point in time. That's basically where the discussion went with that gravel parking lot. He really didn't want to see a waste of funds. It was very conscientious about waste of funds, it seemed, in their budgeting process and with their shareholders. That seemed to be a very important piece for him.
That would seem to me like it'd be only a couple, $3,000 to put gravel in there, and I'm sure that they waste a whole lot more funds than that, or.
I don't know, it seemed to be a very
About that.
efficient operation in there. I went through and actually took a tour afterwards as well, and they have their employees working on each of their lines, limited numbers, very clean operation going through there. They're having trouble hiring employees right now as well, and keeping them. They have a rotating number of employees as well. But it is an option that we could pursue as well. I think, I mentioned as well, I mean, we have provided that option. We have folks that come in and meet the code requirements, and then we have folks that come in and we've provided that option. Some have complied, some have not complied, and we've ended up with gravel issues. In fact, we have some new ones over here as well. That's a residential issue, but we also have a new gravel issue out here off of 34, Old 34, Mount Pleasant as well, with an existing facility. So that we're going to have to take care of as well. That's new after they put in concrete and extended their parking lot. So, but it is an option. It didn't seem to be one that they were really anxious to pursue. their preference, then their request was that it be pushed to 23, that they could push the parking to 23, and as part of their budgeting process. That was his request.
Taking a step back, how much of the cars that are on that road are because of Kobo versus Borgie? Are they all?
That day, there, well, I can't get a good sense.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I was
the
just
past
curious
2
if we
weeks,
have a
they've
sense.
been, I mean, with the issues, current issues going on,
Okay.
that day included myself, there were 3 cars, including myself, in front of Kobo.
Gotcha, okay.
He indicated that he had some folks doing some additional work, contractors on site that day that were taking up some of the reserved parking for visitors.
And that plant depends on overtime. There are days they work more than the day shift.
They are looking
So then you
at
got a
adding-
shift coming in, and the same with Borgie, when we've been over there, they explained that it's 2 shifts, but there are nights that they run a 3 shifts, and that's where the conflict is, when the parking lot's full and the shift comes in, then they leave. That's why you see an empty parking lot and all the cars on the street.
Kobo doesn't currently have a 3rd shift at this time. But that day, they had so they had 2 extra cars in the street.
The reason I ask is we're addressing Kobo, they're the ones saying, hey, let's talk about this, let's figure it out, and,
Right.
and I don't want the big problem to be, or challenge
Understood.
to be with Borgie, and we're not even talking to them.
I know, I walked out after the meeting, walked across the grass, walked to my car on the street, and cars were coming at a pretty good clip. And if I'm not watching or paying attention, I mean, they're coming at a pretty good clip and getting into the car there. I mean, it's, you've got to pay attention. You certainly do. So it's,
You know,
If-
up at Mediapolis a few years ago, I say a few years ago, but it was several, I guess. They had parking in front of the auction along the gravel there, and a guy was going out to get in his car, got hit,
Right.
killed him. You know, I mean, it's simply because there's a lot of traffic and the door opened and it got him. That road's got a lot of traffic. And I would like to see him give them a gravel parking lot and get it off of there, and
let me just throw something out. I mean, if they don't get the budget approved, if they, for either or one or both, I mean,
then we still have the
then
parking.
they'll have to, they have a gravel parking lot and they'll have to remove that. So, I mean, not that they won't comply, it's just, and I hope they will. Certainly hope they would comply, but that doesn't mean we don't still have a parking problem at that point either.
If we were to extend this until they can budget, how long would they have to then to become compliant with our ordinance?
They would begin construction in spring of 2023, and if we were to do that, I would suggest that we put a requirement on that get done first, the parking get done first. Personally, I think that would be a reasonable requirement.
But if they were to deny,
Otherwise, I mean, today we can require them to add additional parking. I mean, we can require it because they are short, and our code requires that they have sufficient parking.
but I feel for their business and for our needs, it's most appropriate to wait until they decide whether they're going to extend their plant. I think it's appropriate to give them the time to do that. My
We will
question
know
is,
by October if their budget is approved.
and if their budget is not approved, and we place this into ordinance, how long would they have to be compliant to that?
Well, so if their budget is approved, they could, they would begin, we could require that they begin as soon as possible in the spring.
Okay.
And just like we would with our projects, if their budget is not approved, we could still require the same, that they complete the parking immediately in the spring. And frankly, I gave them an option to cut their parking price
Right.
by 2/3, which he thinks this is a prettier option, but he did recognize that that was a cheaper option. Frankly, it's a safer option too.
Doesn't their semi-traffic go along there to their
Right,
warehouse?
but if
That's-
you did back-end angle parking, there's all kinds of studies that'll show you that that's safer because you're pulling out facing forward.
Anyway, it's us requiring or not, I want to work with them, but I want the ordinance in place. Is there a way that we do this that makes it effective?
So can we make a motion to table this until October?
Is that how we do this, or what?
Is that what
Sure.
we do?
You can table to a date certain. Well, he said they would know in October,
So it's October 30th, or the first meeting after?
first meeting in November.
There we go, and we
That'll get us-
reconsider and
And
say,
and
okay.
have them get
Time
back
for
with
our
us.
snow.
for the-
It'll
You
already
could
be
also make it
snowing.
effective.
What?
It'll be snowing by then.
That's, but if they don't construct until spring,
Can we delay effectiveness, say, till next June or 12 months out? And the reason I'm in part, if we would pass it but not make it effective till then, it gives
They know
them,
that it's
that we're
going to.
serious
It's going
and
to
we
come
mean
in
it.
at a certain time that way.
Is that possible to do it that way, or can't we do that? We pass and make it effective not till 10 months from now, or something like that? Or does that not make sense?
Typically
that
don't
makes
do that,
sense.
but I
Because you
mean,
have to, once the third reading is passed and you publish notice, and then it becomes effective after notice is, 14 days?
15 days.
15 days after notice is published. So if you're gonna do it, I would do it at the appropriate time.
So in other words, tabling it till November is more appropriate, and possibly even later, based on what their responses are and stuff. Okay.
Unless you think it's of a serious nature and you want it done now, we can require it now. Bless you.
Thank you. I think it's serious and important, but I think
Right.
we can slow down, and we want to work with them, be cooperative, but also put their employees' needs forefront.
I can certainly speak to him.
Melanie, I do want to work with them, but I think there's the other option that they have the ground and they could make a temporary parking there, and then it solves the other problems. And it would appear to me that if they were going into the budget knowing that they were going to have to do that, because they're going to have to do it one way or the other anyway, that it would be more incentive for them to take it to their board and say, hey, we have to do this.
Well,
They
But
do
they're
know.
giving us time for it, so we are working with them either way.
I guess when I would call him and indicate that, one, you have to do it no matter what, irregardless. You have to, you are required by city code to do this. However, the city council is willing to wait until you see if the project is going to move forward in October. And if the project is not going to move forward in October, you're still going to proceed with the parking lot, or you're going to do both. It's either one. It's going to move forward regardless. I'm going to let him know that. There is no question, and there is no question about the parking lot, frankly. That has to be done. It's a matter of when it gets done. Personally,
I guess I'd go along either way. You know, it's been a couple years, several years. I just want them to know that it's gonna happen.
How long has there been parking on that street? How long have cars been parking on?
ever since
Day
it was
one?
extended.
10 years?
Oh, yeah.
no, there's
Yeah,
done
this
when I was
can,
here.
you betcha. Table
And
it
then-
till November, we'll
But my only question with doing that is the other businesses. Have they reached out to us at all? I mean, this company seems like they're really wanting to,
There's only those.
I know there's other things going on out there right now, but I just don't,
Borg and Kobo are the two.
I just don't want to table this in November because the next business says, well,
Yeah.
Jesse
Me too.
spoke to him at
You've
the last
spoken.
meeting, I said that they would, but you spoke to Borgie at the last
Yep.
meeting. They haven't brought it up since.
No, they have not
But,
brought it up since. He understood that there was an issue and they were gonna address the issue, but
There's a lot of other issues that they're gonna have to deal with.
Instead, we just shut the plant.
They may be able to rent
So if we table it until the 1st of November, are we gonna give them till spring then to make that extra parking? Because there's some still good days in November to pour concrete.
Well, at that point, they just can't park there, so they'll have to figure out what to do at that point. The law is no parking on Division. It's not gonna be that they have to pour the concrete, or they're just gonna have to figure out on their property how to navigate shifts or something.
We address it again in November and see what the situation is. And maybe we table this till, if it's like, hey, yep, we got the money, it's frozen, can't pour concrete, lead times are 6 months, this is
can
what it'll get
table
We
done.
can ask him to request the funding this year to get it done, at least that portion of it. I mean, we did talk about that. I didn't bring that up, but yeah.
How many more spots do they need to satisfy the requirement right now of employees?
Well, they're short now, and what on average, there's been at least 2 or 3.
2 or 3.
So, and if they hire 10 to 11 more, you'd have 14, 15 cars. And their proposal was for 30, so they didn't have to do it again.
That's the kind of things we want, companies growing, jobs in the community.
I can, I'll discuss the gravel with them, I'll discuss 2022 request with them. I'll go through all of this with Mr. Ferrari.
Do we want to table this till the next meeting when you have more information, or?
You can certainly do that as
present
well.
I'd rather do that than,
No reason you can't.
that way they'll have more
Except-
information and we can make a decision.
He also goes back to Italy every 2 weeks.
Make a motion, we table this until the next meeting.
A motion for tabling this till the next meeting?
Support.
Support. I'm going to take a vote on that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries, which negates the other motion, so. Moving on. Consider the first reading of an ordinance amending City Code Section 90.11 to include the installation of tracer wire on newly constructed or reconstructed water service lines.
So move.
Motion?
Support.
Motion support. Discussion?
There's 2 ordinances that address tracer wire, and that's just to help us, help them when they go to try to find their service down the road. Mike can talk about it a little bit
Well,
more, but
it's a-
there's 2 sections of the
I
code
think
that address
it's a
it.
federal mandate that it has to be on all of our city lines and stuff. And they're always coming to us, well, why didn't you locate our water line? Well, all these water lines were put in with no tracer wire. So anything being repaired or replaced or new, we want tracer wire on it. So in the future, when we're tracing, we can go right up the yard. And I thought this was supposed to be for sewer lines too, Kelly.
I think
There's another one. for
there's
sure.
2.
Oh, okay, sorry, yep. Same thing there, that's a big issue, because all your clay tile and plastic, there's no way. And we got a special box that puts a wire up by their clean out, so it can be traced by them, or a contractor that's doing the work can clamp their tracer on. It's just beneficial to all the citizens. Sooner or later, you're gonna have a water or sewer issue, and there's no poke and hope digging up a whole yard trying to figure out where it is.
So does this tell us how deep it is too?
No locator will give you an exact depth. Depends on the signal, how wet the ground is, how dry it is. They'll clamp to it, and their machines can give you an idea that it's 4 foot, 4.5 foot roughly. They can give you an idea, but that none of them will ever tell you an exact, because then they're liable.
Did something prompt this to come up? Did some issue, it seemed,
We've had some issues that been put in, but no, then Troy addressed me that this came down as a mandate, that it's supposed to be being done, and we haven't adopted it yet.
oh, okay,
So we kind of need to
thank you.
on all of our mains, which we have, but we still have a lot of old mains that we can't trace, that don't have tracer wires, so in the same sense, our tracer wires, when they're down there, they tie their tracer wire right to ours. So when Troy ties in a valve box, he can go down the street and up the yards, and it'll pick up all of them.
The reason I was asking about the depth was we seem to have a lot of change orders on, well, we didn't know this was that deep, or we didn't know. Can this help that to where we don't have
These
as
wouldn't be
many
our
of that?
change orders. This is all private.
Well, I understand that, but if we would have known that,
On our public projects, we
We do.
require it. The problem is, for example, on the water tower project,
Yeah.
out in the middle of Gear, that's an old line that didn't, that.
Yeah. And that's what I'm
That's what
getting
I'm
at
talking about.
for
We
future,
require it on
yes.
our project, so going
going forward, would that help
it
that
ha-
project?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because everything could be located.
It'll
It
help
won't,
with change orders.
then it stops all that extra fees for that pothole,
Right.
and you see them trying to find the depth of it,
That's
yes.
what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
asking. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
It will take time, a long time, to replace things, and
Got a lot of
but we
water
just
lines.
need to get it, it's kind of like our GIS that Kelly's got us going on that a few years ago. We've really, there's so much information on that for us now, and this is just another layer, another step to add to it, so when I'm gone, the next guy has it all down on the computer screen.
We know where you live.
And knows how to use one.
Yeah, and knows how to use it.
Mike, do you know, how,
The apprenticeship program. It's okay.
does this add an extra cost to installing these lines? I'm just curious
Yeah.
how much, and I
Yeah.
know, just,
No, it will be, the cost of the wire, and then I think the box, what, Troy say the box was $19
oh, okay.
We charge
for the,
$30 on a permit, because we'll resupply the wire, right?
no, not that I'm aware of.
Well, or the box, or.
I'm not sure what we supply. but
We're
we-
supplying the locating box that the wire comes up into, but I don't think it's $30.
The permit fee is $30 because I just did one. So this is something that Mike and I talked about with residential because we had I think it came up with the Cottage Grove sewer line issue on the one residence. I get asked a lot of times where their water lines are, where their sewer line is. And I can rely on Mike's guys that if the water line's in front or the sewer line's in the front, then we can kind of get an idea, but we don't know where residential is. So by adding this in for the newly constructed, or when they have to replace a line, this aids the property owner themselves in future problems. And it also, if they have to have Roto-Rooter come in, it helps them out, but it helps out everyone in the end, this does. And yeah, we have a $30 permit fee that was approved, because that was showing up on my master list.
I have to go back and check, because I'm not sure what
It
what the
popped up on my
wire
permit on the one that I had, so,
was for. I mean, I'll
but I
double
don't know if
check
that
I'm
includes
just
the wire or
curious.
the box.
For a project, for a person, a
We
contract.
do got one new house on Vernon going in, and I informed that contractor of that this was coming down the line, and he's getting ready to tie into our water and tie into our sewer and and he's like, no, that's a great idea. He goes, no, we'll just add it right now. We'll do it in this new home, even though that we had, he was all about it, and he understands from building homes that this is well beneficial to the property owner down the road.
It makes sense, I'm just
Yeah.
curious what it adds cost, benefit down the road, I get that, I just,
You're building a new house,
what's another $50 or something?
or 30.
And that's the realm of money we're talking about adding, the way it sounds, it's not that.
it's not significant.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and support on this. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. I've lost track where I am.
Number 6.
Number 6, okay. Considering the first reading of the ordinance amending Chapter 96 of the City Code to include a new section requiring the installation of a tracer wire on newly constructed or reconstructed sewer lateral pipes and mains.
Second.
Moved in second. Considering we had a lot of discussion before, is there any more?
This is one that we run into more problems. Lots of tree roots. I've had 3 contractors in town real recently in the last couple of weeks, and they'll get a camera and they'll run it out from the house and say, oh, it's 60 foot out from the house. Well, all they know is where it goes out of the basement, and those sewer lines don't go straight from there to the street. There's one over here on Ballard that come out of the basement, and his sewer line diagonals across 2 other properties before it gets to the alley. and no one would have known that. But if that would have been laid with a tracer wire, those people digging that up to fix it would have known right where it went. And there's so many of them that they're digging up, putting repairs in, and they have no idea which direction out of the house they go. They don't automatically just go straight to the closest sewer.
Maybe to the closest one at the time of construction, huh?
Well, not really. That sewer went straight up and down there when it was put in. I still don't know why, I can't explain why that one was done that way, but long before my time.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consider a first reading of the ordinance adding a new section 90.22 prohibiting theft of services and tampering with water service system.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion support. Discussion?
This is one that Katie went to a class a while back, and they, it was a recommendation that you have this in place, so when she came back and looked, we really didn't have it clearly in there, so she asked if we could just add a little bit more detail for, helps when she's communicating with residents on what they can and can't do with their water meter and taking it out and
Yeah,
ending their service.
We
and-
did have this issue here at the city about a year ago on the Ramsey address where the water was shut off and a pipe was wedged in there and it was turned on, then we couldn't shut it off. We had to dig it up, put a new curb box, tampering, so we can't shut them off and they can still have water messing with it. This way, we're covered that it's in our ordinance that you cannot do that. And people that are removing meters, that's us to do, not them. But these have affected us too recently, so.
So it's just updating our code to
Yep.
do it, lets us do our job.
We have an episode on Swan Street where one house was shut off and they hooked their garden hose up to their neighbor's hose. How? Measure how long my garden hose is.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 9, 8. Considering the first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 91 of the City Code by adding a new section 91.11 prohibiting the tampering of water meters.
There's just two sections of the code, and the first one talks about the service line itself, and then there's a whole nother section that talks about the meter, so it kind of just adds it, so it's in both places.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 9, consider a resolution accepting a quit claim from Westland Mall Realty Holding LLC for Lot P in Westland Mall Plat 2 subdivision, and that's the lot with a drainage ditch.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion support. Discussion?
Any questions?
Isn't that the one where
This is
Mike's
the-
been working on cleaning up anyway?
Yeah, we have our storm going through there and our sanitary goes through that area, and that's what we just had to get permission to go in and dig up and fix.
Gotcha, okay, good, thanks.
Just
So
while
after
the
this, we'll-
paperwork is getting done,
Super.
they should see a significant improvement with the work that's been done in that whole drainage area. all
Yeah,
the way
I
over
can't
to
promise you,
Mountain
but from what we fixed and we found, I don't think if we get a 6-inch rain, you'll see Gear Avenue flooded out at Fast Break again. Because there was literally nowhere for the water to go. That all comes clear back to that retention pond.
So since you've been in there, Mike, and stuff, is there other work that you'll want to do in that area?
Yeah, I haven't brought that proposal forward yet, but
Next
we
budget.
need a excavator with a shredder because we shouldn't have all those trees in there.
Gotcha, yeah.
That's going to be a constant battle. I haven't even attempted to get a quote on that yet.
Well, there's a portion of it that was designed and is working properly with proper vegetation. There's some of it that's been let to overgrow, and that will need to be addressed over time as well. But if it's done correctly and maintained, it will, at some point, it'll be much easier to maintain if once you get to that point. But I think, what did you say, about a half or a third of it was doing well and with the vegetation?
Yeah, the east,
As designed?
probably the east third of it is just the cattails and grass vegetation where the water comes in. But from there on down to the outfall pipe and infall pipe, it's just growed up with brush.
And that's what it really should be. I mean, that's what you want it to be, with the proper vegetation in there.
Cool, thank you. Thanks.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Potential action to ratify an agreement following the exempt session.
Make a motion to accept the tentative agreement with the police department.
I second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Any old business? No? I don't see any citizens, so entertain a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion support. All in favor signify by saying aye.